When Time magazine hired me to make a portrait 10 years ago, photo editor Paul Moakley referenced one particular section of my portfolio. It was a personal project, portraits of friends that I made while bartending at a small music venue. Like these, but with less tattoos, he joked on the phone. My name is Sean, and I've been a photojournalist for more than 25 years. A decade ago, I started freelancing with Getty Images, the Associated Press, the New York Times, and other major outlets. In this video, we tackle what I've learned from hundreds of personal projects over 25 years. And we tackle personal projects because I largely blame them for a lot of my success. During a year span a decade ago, I signed more than a dozen agreements with the biggest newspapers and media organizations in the world. So what put me in this position? Personal projects. A personal photo project is a self-assigned endeavor on your own terms. Your own ideas, your own timeline, under your complete control. No clients to get in the way. Personal projects open doors, develop skills, and build habits. I got my first newspaper assignment post-college after showing a portfolio of concert photography to photo editor Chuck Dye at the state newspaper. All the photography and the matted black and white prints in the box was part of a personal project. He said something to the effect, "Well, you can photograph musicians, let's see if you can photograph high school football." For the next 10 years, I often found myself under those Friday night lights, and I owe a lot of my success in photography to Chuck Dye. At the beginning, I was still shooting on film, leaving at halftime and driving to the newsroom, processing on a Wing Lynch machine, drying, scanning, and captioning photos before the 10 p.m. deadline. Over the last 25 years, personal projects have played a crucial role connecting me with clients and paid gigs. And maybe more importantly, they've had significant impacts on my growth as a photographer. Too often with paid gigs, the subject matter doesn't align with our interests. We aren't given the resources or creative control to perform our best work. Personal projects help me do my best work and help me establish relationships with clients. And over time, the distance between my personal projects and my paid gigs narrows. We can use our personal projects to niche down and target the industries that we'd like to work in. If you want to get paid gigs in the auto racing industry, well then do projects about auto racing. And it doesn't have to be NASCAR, it can be go-karts or your local dirt track. And you'll have better access to the people you photograph. I have a couple websites, a portfolio website and a secondary one where I publish photo stories that are mostly personal projects. The website, after 12 years, has now become an ongoing project itself, while also acting as a framework. And this website gives me more credibility with subjects and sources for future projects. I also publish quarterly photo zines, giving me an additional vehicle for my personal photo projects. One of these, titled About Photography, was acquired by the library at the National Museum of Art in Washington, D.C. One of the most important and early steps when it comes to personal projects is picking your project. This is why it paralyzes so many photographers from the get-go. But remember, we can bail on personal projects or take them in other directions. Just communicate with any subjects that you've already photographed. The more personal photo projects we tackle, the better we'll get at finding them. Pick something that'll hold your interest over time, and not just the latest flavor of the week. Otherwise, you'll get bored and you'll just shelve your project. Before landing on a personal project, we need to ask ourselves if it translates visually. For example, this project I did was about people complaining about an invisible threat to their health, air pollution, and I couldn't get access to the plant that they were complaining about. And then here's a personal photo project I did about people cleaning up the rivers in western North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. Which one of these projects translates better visually? For each photographer, what translates best is going to depend upon our personal style and interest. Keep this in mind. Topics and subjects are not stories. Stories typically have a beginning, middle, and end. A subject with desires and challenges they face, and a host of other elements. Themes are also different than topics and subjects, and this is why it's important that we explore these relationships. And how do we do this best? By working on more personal projects. What timelines are we working with? Is something seasonal, ongoing, inconsistent, or can we plan far in advance and have strict schedules? To ensure the likelihood that you'll follow through and deliver on your project, give yourself some timelines or deadlines. And find other photographers that are working on projects and regularly meet with them. If you can't find photographers, just look for creatives, some type of artist doing something creative on a personal project level basis. You can bounce ideas off of each other and hold one another accountable. When picking a project, it's important that we identify our personal goals early on. Personal projects offer a wide range of benefits for all photographers, but we can structure them for our particular needs within our markets and niches. Personal projects can help us make general improvements to our portfolios, or we can target them to get our foot in the doors with specific clients. Personal projects create bodies of work while teaching us about ourselves, teaching us about organization, sequencing, storytelling, delivery, the list goes on and on. Often, the end goal is that we find clients that give us creative control and extra responsibility, and they'll value the skills that we've developed working on personal projects. Be ready. We perform preliminary research during the selection phase of personal projects, but that's often just the beginning. Some projects require a lot of research, some don't. Some just kind of happen to fall in our lap, but we still need to be, once again, ready. My project photographing friends I made at the bar is pretty simple. Identifying suitable subjects, contacting and pitching them, scouting locations, scheduling times, showing up, and delivering. How will we present, share, or publish our personal project? Or maybe we're not interested in that, and we're just in it for the personal experience. Will you publish your project on your own website and/or social media? Maybe you'll pitch it to newspapers and magazines, or self-publish a photo book or photozine. Or maybe you're interested in a gallery exhibition. Your choice of delivery will affect the access that people choose to give you. The personal project that landed me the gig with Time magazine, it was a gallery exhibition, and then also I published it on my website with interviews. One of the hardest parts to any personal project is just starting it. So I suggest by starting with whatever you find to be easiest. You'll get your feet wet and understand what it's going to take to pull off the rest of the project. In the beginning of some projects, especially when they involve gaining the trust of people, some photographers leave their cameras to the side. First, establishing relationships with what they're photographing. Whenever I'm meeting somebody that I'm photographing and we're not strapped for time, I don't show up with cameras on my shoulder. I want them to meet me first as a person, and then we'll take care of the photography after that. This gives us a chance to warm up to one another without the camera getting in the way or being a distraction. Photographers often use travel as a way to commit themselves to a project. When you only have 3 days with a subject or a location, procrastination becomes really obvious. When we're at home, it's much easier to say we'll work on something tomorrow and/or get distracted by things inside our homes. That said, the best projects for photographers are often in their backyards and in their own neighborhoods. Execution of a project will depend heavily on motivation, curiosity, organization, and planning. Beyond the most basic resources like time and money, access is the next biggest challenge for personal projects. When I say access, I refer to how much access we can get to whatever we're photographing. For example, most people don't have much access to the President of the United States, but we probably have access to our cat. There'll also be some unique challenges that pop up with every project, but that'll prepare us for our next client or our next project. For most photographers, the biggest challenge with personal projects is that they're personal, and that we're going through all these speed bumps alone. After 25 years, at times working with actual photo editors, I know the importance of having somebody on your side when you're working on a project. Understanding this challenge firsthand, I'm launching personal project mentorships. Before I open applications for these project mentorships in June, I'll be accepting 3 photographers for a mini project mentorship at no cost. Maybe you've been working on a project for years, or you're just trying to start one. Applications for the mentorship are due on April 1st, and it's linked in the description.